Hey everybody, Tanner here, and I'm here to talk about being done with the first year of law school. I did a video before about the first semester of law school, going to do one about the second semester of law school, which obviously concludes a full year. Uh, we, I decided this time to wait until we actually got our grades back to do the video instead of the first video. I decided just to do it as soon as I finished my last exam. This time I actually waited until our grades came out because in my first video I had talked about like things I wanted to do differently with note taking and reading and stuff like that. So I wanted to wait to come back to see if any of that stuff actually ended up helping me during this law school process. What I'll say is that eh, kind of. Um, so basically how this video is going to break down is I actually have a full page of notes this time instead of just rambling on like I did the first video. Basically what I want to do this time is I want to mention stuff that I said in the first video, stuff that I did this semester, general advice for anybody who is entering law school or maybe is looking for some advice for next semester. How this all correlates to working, since I now have a summer job. Well, job. It's just an unpaid internship, and what I'm doing next semester to hopefully help or kind of aid in my abilities, I guess. So basically, to begin, as previously mentioned, I had mentioned in the first video that I was going to make some changes for this semester, and that's what I did. I stopped book briefs, whereas instead in my notes, I just basically had the rule and the facts, and that was it. There was no book briefing. There was no like, oh, this guy belongs to this part of the court, the procedural history, none of that. I literally just did just the rules and just the facts. I'm gonna be doing that again. On exams and stuff, like none of the other stuff is really even talked about. It's really just about how you can take the facts with the rule and then apply that to different facts. Like that's really all we need to know per each case. So it's whatever. This semester, I actually decided to read every single word that was assigned because last semester and in the last video I had mentioned where there was like two classes where once I got cold called, I didn't read the cases again. Well, this time I decided to read every single possible word assigned, and it really didn't help. Sad to say, a lot of wasted time this semester. There was just so many things that were just completely irrelevant and just really did not matter when it came down to it. Of course, when you take the exam, we don't know that, right? Like we don't know what's going to be on there. We don't know what's not going to be on there. So law school classes are designed to read every single thing if you have enough time. And granted, we usually don't, but I decided this semester I would, and it honestly didn't matter. It really didn't help. Like the in class notes that I took, along with using like that whole outline plus somebody else's outline, that's really what it comes down to. What you need to know. Like a professor isn't going to talk about things in the class that don't matter. So anything they talk about probably matters. Unless they ask like three questions about a case, then you're like, that's probably not going to matter. It just kind of depends. Also, what some professors will do will be like, by the way, like this section will be on the quiz or the exam, so make sure you keep that in your notes or whatever. Like a lot of professors do that, so that's helpful as well. Uh, so I wouldn't next semester. I'm not going to read everything. I'm just not like if I get cold called for a case, so be it. And I didn't read it, so be it. Like I got Quimby and I got the internet. More on that later, but like I got stuff I can use. And if I stumble a cold call or whatever, I genuinely don't care, dude. Like I really don't. This is probably why 2Ls and 3Ls are so much happier than 1Ls because they just have a level of not giving as much of a care as a 1L in the sense that it doesn't have any like negative consequences if you don't happen to read a case or read it right or answer a good cold call. Like there's none of that. It doesn't exist. And us 1Ls we're worried about being embarrassed or looking stupid or whatever. Like, it doesn't freaking matter, dude. It really, the grand aspect of life, it does not matter. It has no consequence. We're not representing a client. We're not talking to a judge on a really important matter. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is your exam score. That's it. And even then, again, as long as you pass, you're fine. You're gonna get a job. You're gonna graduate. Like, as long as you pass your class, like, that's fine. Anyway, another thing that, or I guess the first thing that I found super helpful this semester was I started my outline from day one. Every single one of my notes, I did a table of contents before the semester started with the syllabus that the professor gives, obviously. And then you just do the table of contents, and then on, like, depending on how long the syllabus is, on like the second or third page of your document, you'll start the first section. And then what, I don't even do any sort of formatting. I just like, I do like enter dash for a main note, and then I'll do under that, I'll do like tab dash a secondary note, and then I'll just keep going as it needs. I also was lucky enough this semester where I didn't need to print any of my outlines. Everything was medium security, which basically means all it does is turn off internet, but you can still access your files. So luckily I was able to control F everything in my notes, which is awesome. And every professor should do that, because guess what? On the job, we're going to have access to our files and the internet and our notes. Dude, that's a whole thing. These exams, law school, I mean, I have it on here, so we're going to talk about it later, but it's just so archaic and so irrelevant to how practice really is. And I can say that now since I've been working for 3 weeks with actual attorneys who are in the field, who are doing practice in the field that I want to do. And I can tell you just how irrelevant the law school education really is in today's day and age. Okay. So these are some personal things that I had mentioned in the first video. One is I said that I wanted to be more social and talk to more people, and I feel like I did that. I actually have like an entirely new friend group in the second semester. Now, will they still be a friend group after we come back for the summer? Who knows? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure we'll all be dandy. But yeah, I mean, I talked to way more people. I met so many more people than first semester, especially like people I didn't see in first semester and then had classes with. And I was like, oh, I've heard about you. You were in that class, or you that class. How was it? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you can kind of compare, LRW stories now, or like, oh, how'd you do on your first brief, or stuff like that, right? Like, you can start comparing these things now, whereas before it was just like, oh, yeah, I'm in this class, we're doing this, So yeah, I met a lot more people, or became friends with a lot more people this semester. I still don't do any like bar review. Again, just not for me, not my scene, not my thing. I did go out a couple times though for a couple different things this semester. I don't remember what exactly. I guess they weren't too memorable, but I know one was for an org that I had to go to, and one was for an org that I chose to go to. And I think I went out one or two more times, but I know I went out for the natty. I know I went out for that. For those who don't go to IU and don't know, basically during the semester, IU football won the national championship, and everyone went fucking insane, and it was awesome. I went out for that. I think I went out a couple times. I can't remember what. So yeah, I feel like I did that goal. Obviously, like with new people coming in next year, we're gonna have different schedules, because we barely saw like 2Ls and 3Ls unless it was in the hallways, of course. So with new people coming in, one thing I want to do is, I feel like a lot of the 2Ls and 3Ls who weren't involved in orgs, they just, a lot of them seemed very like standoffish, and you had to like basically beg them for information, or like, interrupt them. I feel like a lot of 2Ls and 3Ls who weren't part of organizations or weren't part of some sort of like staff, like working with the admissions office or working with the career office or, whatever it may be. A lot of them were just there to kind of be there. Like they didn't seem very, into talking to one else. So I think I kind of want to be the opposite of that. And like if I see a 1L who doesn't know what they're doing or looks like they're confused, like I'd like to be that person to try to help. I did apply to two positions to try to work directly with incoming 1Ls or 1Ls as a whole, but I didn't get either position. I have no idea why I didn't get either position. I don't know if they base it off grades or what, but I felt like the one interview I had for one of them went well, and I already knew that office staff, so I don't know why I didn't get it, but everything happens for a reason, and I'm actually going to be a lot more active in CLS because I technically have like not a job, but it's like part of the executive board I'm on now. So I'm going to be a lot more active in that, hopefully bringing in more people and hopefully discussing with, my class, the 2Ls plus the incoming 1Ls. It'd be great. So I'm going to try to do that as well. And then another thing that I kind of mentioned in the first video is I started the first semester with like a lot of stress, and I had like an existential crisis the first week. The first month I was terrible. Like I was texting everybody I know, just like, oh, like I don't understand why I'm here. Why did I do this to myself? And then as time went on, I got less and less stressed. And I felt that was kind of the opposite of my classmates, where it was, oh, the 1L dream, like, oh my gosh, we're in law school, yippee. And then by the time October rolled around, everyone was freaking out. I feel like I was the opposite. I feel like by the time October rolled around, I was just like, all right, like cool. Like I know what I need to do. I'm trying to get my shit done. So be it. Yeah, I complained a lot. Yes, but I felt like chill. This semester, I also feel like the opposite of my classmates, where I had almost no freaking stress this semester. Like I was mega chilling, bro. People are like, oh my god, like I can't believe that reading is due. Like oh my god, LRW. Like yeah, I complained. Oh yeah, the reading sucks. Oh yeah, the reading's really long tonight. Like LRW is a piece of shit. Like oh that sucks. Like I complained. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of stress, dude, I was chilling, man. Like there were so many things that I was just grateful for. I'm like, dude, I got an apartment. My car is great. Like there's so many places to eat here, and I'm exploring like all these new different places to eat. Like there's so many things to see and do. Like I'm chilling, dude. Like every Saturday, I just took every Saturday off. I played video games. I watched movies. I watched sports. Like I was chilling, dude. And I got everything done that I needed to get done. That's the crazy part. And I improved my GPA by like 0.6 points. So like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't that tough a semester, honestly. We even had an extra class, and that extra class lasted like, I think an hour and 15 minutes longer than when we got out last semester. And still, I was like, yeah, it really sucks. Yes, I'm really tired in this class. Yes, we're going home later. But for me personally, I was actually getting a lot more sleep. I was reading things faster. I got most of my reading done like Thursday and Friday nights, and then like Sunday nights and Monday nights. That's pretty much when I did all of my reading. And I was always like 3 to 4 days ahead, which it has its pros and cons. I would say do it if you have a decent memory and take decent notes. If you're someone who doesn't take good notes and has bad memory, then I would say maybe only like 1 or 2 days ahead. But I would try to be at most a week ahead, and I would read on the like I said, like Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday, pretty much. This semester I barely had to read at school. Maybe like in total for the whole semester, if I'm totaling the days, maybe like a week. There was like, oh, I had to read this con case, or oh no, I forgot about this property case. Let me read like 5 or 10 pages real quick, and I would just read it at lunch. Like we had a lot more breaks this semester because we had an extra class. which is why I'm happy we get to pick. We got to pick our own schedule from here on out, basically, and that'll be more later. But that's basically like everything that I changed in this semester and said I wanted to improve on for this semester. And I think I did my goals. Did it reflect awesomely on my grades? Not really. I did get that increase, but that increase was only because I got a better score in a higher unit class than I did last semester. So last semester in a higher level class, I got a C plus, and this, like the equivalent of the units, I got a B minus. So just because of that, like change in like one letter step up, with the same unit, increased my GPA by like I said, like 0.6 points. So was that because I read every single thing? Was that because I had better organized notes? I don't think so. I think it was literally just because of the class that it is and the professor and how he grades. Like, I don't think anything I changed academically had a huge impact on like the scores I got, to be honest. So I'm not reading everything. So yeah, here's some general advice for really anybody who's coming to law school, or maybe you're just looking for advice for even like next semester of law school. If you don't already, or in the future, get Quimby. I relied on Quimby a lot. I love it. The videos are actually really helpful and really cool because the explanations or like the briefs, they're not always super detailed, but when there's an attached video, it also really helps to look at that as well. So yeah, pretty much what I'm going to do next semester is I'm probably going to skim through the case and then just look at Quimby, watch the video, and then do like the rules and facts, like I said before, and then take notes on the video, I guess. I don't know. I'm honestly not fucking worried about it, dude. Like, if I fudge a cold call, then whatever. This piece of advice is for new 1Ls. I would still suggest, and this was suggested to me via Reddit, some other law school adjacent websites, and I believe my PGA told me to do this as well, which if you don't know what a PGA is, watch my first video. I would still read everything, all of the cases for like the first half of the semester, just because the reason reading cases is so important, as I previously mentioned, is because you want to take the rules of a case and then be able to apply that to a different fact pattern, okay? So the reason you read cases is to be able to break down a few things. You want to break down the issue, you want to break down the facts, and then you want to break down any holdings, which is basically how they decide the case. And then you want to take the rule, which is what they use to decide the case. So the rule is the most important fact, plain and simple. It just is. Like, there's no way around that. So for new 1Ls, the purpose of reading these cases is to be able to find the rule really easily. And now that I'm not an expert by any means, but now that I have read countless cases for varying different topics, it's much easier to be able to pick apart the facts with the rule and just be able to use those two and just forget about everything else. It's a skill and it requires reading, and they will tell you that during orientation, but it is really important. So I think, just based off previous experience, you should still read every single case for like the first half of the semester, and then you can buy Quimby and then just go based off that. Also, what I would say is utilize AI. There's going to be a lot of conversations about AI throughout law school, throughout your career. I mean, we even, during training at my job, even one of the supervisors talked about like using AI to help himself with his cases and using it to like ask voir dire questions and stuff like that, which is jury selection, and basically help him formulate questions to ask like people just in general. So I would say use it very carefully, because I've plugged it into cases and stuff and been like, okay, find this, and I use like proper citation and everything, and it spit out like a totally different case like 4 times in a row. And I obviously had the case in front of me, so I was like, no AI, actually the case is about blah blah blah. And then they finally did a whole brief for me, and I was like, cool, like that's great. You're not graded on briefs, you're not graded on your notes, so you can use AI. Like it's fine, dude, honestly. And I used Copilot a lot this semester, where I'd be like, okay, the ruling is this, can you, or not the ruling, sorry, the rule is this, can you help me break that down into like simpler terms or whatever? And then it would. And I really liked it. So I'm definitely going to use more AI. I genuinely don't think there's an issue with it. Obviously don't use it. I mean, you can't really use it for exam because your internet is turned off, but like, even if you have a midterm or you're using it for LRW, I think that's somewhat of a mistake. With that said, once you're in practice, people use AI for that shit all the time. Like there's attorneys that openly admit it. So once you're in practice, like do it to your own peril. For LRW though, I've heard it works for people. I'm not huge on AI generally, but it does help with research for sure. Like I'm not gonna lie, it really does help with research. Um, and the last piece of advice, there's still 2 more topics after this, but the last piece of advice I'll say is law school, at the end of the day, it's just reading. Like it's really not a big deal. It's not anything to stress over. It's not anything to kill yourself over. Like I said in my first video, we could be in a country that is being bombed right now. You know, our country could be bankrupt, and we could all be, having to eat, like, I just looked down at my rug. Like we could have to eat rug particles and like boil them in a stew or something. You know what I mean? Like we might have to lick floorboards in order to get food. Like there's so many things that's messed up in this world, and we are so blessed to be able to go through this education. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. Yes, my grades are butt cheeks, but guess what? I'm still going on to 2L. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or a freaking genius to be able to do this. It's just reading and applying what you've read to other things. That's it. Stop stressing. That's what I got to say. So the next topic is how law school relates to working. Now, I am a rising 2L, which means that next semester starts, I'll be a 2L, which means I have my first legal job, right? A lot of people are like paralegals beforehand. A lot of people had already been like interns at a law office or whatever. This is my first legal job, and for many people, it's theirs as well. So now that I have a job in the legal industry and I've been through a year of law school, I can kind of say some of these things. My first note, and my professor, if you're watching this by chance, I apologize, but you did give me the worst grade I've ever had in any of my college career. So this is on you. LRW is kind of useless. Like it kind of is. What I mean by that is at the office I'm working at, they have templates for every single thing imaginable. This motion, this brief, this memo, this thing. My office doesn't even do briefs and memos. Like it doesn't exist. All they do is motions. That's it. Obviously, firms are going to be different, from each other. The type of law you do is going to be different. But for me and my career path, LRW is kind of useless. The research component, yes, super helpful, super cool. I'm actually taking an advanced legal research course next semester. Not advanced legal research and writing, but advanced research. It's like a whole different thing. It's still using like Westlaw and stuff, and we're still like graded on how we research, which I think is going to be super important. The research aspect, extremely important. The writing aspect for my career and the people I'm working with this summer, LRW was so useless. Like, it was so irrelevant to what I'm doing. Even what the certified interns are doing when they're doing their own motions, everything has a template. All you do is copy and paste into a new document, and then you add the new details. That's it. That's it. It's all there. There are no new things in the law that are invented that you're doing a motion on. Like, it's so rare that something new in the law happens that you need to create a whole new motion or a whole new this or a whole new that. Like, it's so flippin' rare. And off the off chance that that happens, you can always ask your teammates or your co-counselor who's assigned to the case, or like whatever it may be. You can always ask somebody to help you on this. There's never like, oh my gosh, this is due in a week. Like, what am I gonna? No, you know this stuff way in advance. LRW is useless. And I genuinely think it's so archaic, along with the rest of law school. It's just so archaic that it's like the way they do it is such crap. It really is. They need to find a new way to do it, like plain and simple. I will say this semester was a little bit better though because we got to do oral arguments, which was really fun. I didn't like it. I thought I like bombed pretty hard. It broke off from the repetitive cycle that law school is, so I ended up kind of liking it. Another thing I'll say is now that I'm somewhat working, is that casebooks are also useless. I haven't talked about a single case since I've been here, like, unless it was voluntary. I had mentioned one case from my crim class that we talked about to a guy because he asked something that was somewhat relevant to the case. And I, like, in my head, I was like, wait, we read that case. Like, I'm going to tell him about it. So I basically sent him this email and like emailed him my notes on the case and was like, oh yeah, this is why your question actually was really important and why it doesn't actually matter, even though it's a great question, but here's why your question doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. And he emailed me back and he was like, oh, thanks, man. So I just think casebooks, and I also have here, and the way law school is done is completely different than how practice is done. And there's even professors and faculty who like make jokes about that because this saying is law school doesn't teach you how to be a lawyer. It teaches you how to think like a lawyer. Yeah, because they teach us to be academics, which is not, that's not the law field. The overwhelming majority of people in the law field are not academia people. They're practitioners. And when you have professors who aren't practitioners, all it turns into is, oh, this is important for academics. This is important for academics. It doesn't fucking matter. Listen, you know who reads law journals? Lawyers. Clients aren't reading it. Judges are probably not even reading that shit. They're probably reading fucking Judges Weekly, and it's about how they sentence someone to 40 years. Like, law school is so archaically done. It needs an update. The ABA needs to update shit. Like, it needs a change. It really does. It's bad, and it's gonna be like this probably forever because money. So who knows? But yeah, that's all I have about like working and how it relates to law school. I will say this though, the most important, I was thinking about this earlier, the most important thing that I've been learning from law school so far, again, is basically like how to read and take away like the rule and separate it from the rest, but also just like general vocabulary, like I feel like that's something that law school has helped with a lot, is just general vocabulary. Like there's just so many, like, I'm not going to use examples, but there's just so many things from law school that you learn by reading certain things and hear about certain things, and then it's like, oh, I remember that's what that means, yeah, and stuff like that, and then it becomes kind of like your common vernacular, and that's just how it is. Like a lot of Latin stuff, a lot of French stuff, and then you just kind of like, when it's repeated all the time, you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, those have been the two most helpful. Next for me personally, and this is something that the incoming 1Ls can start, looking forward to and being excited for, is I'm gonna try to use all ebooks next semester because being able to like control F in the middle of class, being able to like highlight and very easily find it, being able to like look at it offline and not having to lug around. I mean, dude, my backpack this semester I think was like 27 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're carrying it around all flipping day and then you're taking it here and here and then oh my gosh, like we're getting these handouts. Let me move these gigantic books out of the way to get my binder and stuff it in there. And then like, if I can just use all ebooks, it's just going to be a lot better for me. But that's a totally personal like thing though. A lot of people hate ebooks. I have found one of my classes I had an attached ebook. I had the physical ebook. What? I had the physical book, but it had an attached ebook with the code because it was brand new, and I actually much preferred it than the actual thing. It makes it seem like the reading goes by a lot quicker, which I don't think it's true. I don't know, but it makes it seem a lot quicker. So I'm going to do that. But again, that's a totally personal preference, to be honest. But also, if you book brief, you actually lose resale value. So just keep that in mind if you're, strapped for cash like myself. So another thing that's next for me is no school on Fridays. That's great. As a 1L, at least at my school, you're there Monday through Friday. Friday is a very short day. It's usually only LRW, but and some people had short Thursdays this semester as well. Last semester, everyone had longer Thursdays, but this semester, some people had short Thursdays. I was one of the unfortunate people to have a long Thursday, but that's okay. Anyway, but no school on Fridays. This is advantageous because I can actually spend all Friday doing work. I can read for the week basically. So like Thursday night into Friday, I can basically read, and then Saturday again, I'm gonna just choose not to do anything. And I also have a later start and an earlier end, so my days are shorter. So again, really helpful to be able to pick your own classes. And my schedule is like already approved for my academic advisor because I have the academic advisor for the silly folks, aka people who didn't get very good grades. So like he's already approved my schedule and everything. I'm chilling, honestly. I mean, I am in a seminar which is basically like a giant writing class, and then I am, like I previously mentioned, I am doing that advanced research class. Those two I'm kind of worried about just because of how tough they are, but I'm not doing journal and I'm not doing a clinic this semester, so I genuinely think I have a great schedule. We'll see when August and September roll around, but generally speaking, like I think my schedule is fantastic. And maybe this is why 2Ls and 3Ls are so much happier than 1Ls, because you just have more time. Like I'm even dropping one of the orgs slash like projects I'm in. I'm not gonna participate in that anymore. Like I said, I didn't get hired for either of those positions I applied to through the school, so I don't have that to take up my time. I'm not doing journal. I'm not doing clinic. I pick my own classes, shorter days, no school on Fridays. Everything's going to be awesome. So, yeah, I mean, that's really all I got. That finishes this page of notes. Generally, like, it's going to be really hard for incoming 1Ls to not stress out and freak out and worry, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. This year flew by, and the people that I've talked to about that all pretty much say the same thing. It goes by so fast, and it's like I don't remember so much, like, but I'm just grateful to be here. I'm happy to be here, and that's generally just all I got. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. And again, I said this is my first video. If you're watching this and you go to my school, like, dude, and we haven't talked yet, like, just hit me up. I mean, we're on that group chat together. Just hit me up whenever you want. Say hi if you see me in the hallway or whatever. Pretty sure all of us the majority of us are going to be in one class together, evidence, right? So, if you haven't reached out and you want to reach out, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, yeah, I'll see you guys around, and thanks for watching. Also, if you're an incoming 1L, and you just want like personal advice or whatever about it, feel free to reach out. Like I said, I'm going to try to do that for the people at my school, just generally speaking. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and see you when I see you. Bye. But I improved my GPA by like point. It kind of broke off from the it kind of broke off from the Montani. It broke off from the next for me, and kind of how it relates to